Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. I am hopping on here on a Wednesday morning as I fidget, trying to get comfortable. I started a little nutrition series a week or two ago, and they're building my audience for me. That's great. And I just wanted to do it as a whole talk right now. I have sort of delivered little chunks and pieces of a talk. Look, really, when it comes down to it, nutrition changes are the most important thing you can do if your goal is fat loss and to be a healthier person. What I chronicled in my book, Exposed the Weight Loss Industry Wants You to Be Fat, you can find that on Amazon if you're interested in sort of a provocative new look at fitness and health. What I talked about in my book was that there's really what I consider three pillars of health: treatment, training, and nutrition. Each three, if you want to be the most highest functioning, healthiest person that you know, if you want to get off of modern healthcare, not off, but if you want to get a lot less, sorry, I'm adjusting this thing, it's crooked. If you want to get a lot less dependent on modern medicine for really high expensive drugs, surgeries, interventions, doctor visits, and become just the most empowered, healthy person you can become, you got to make changes at all three levels. Treatment really means treating the mind, treating the spirit, creating a level of calm, ease, reducing stress. Training, which is really getting regular, steady, consistent fitness and smart fitness, and nutrition. And today I'm going to talk a lot about nutrition, but it'll also bring in other pillars of the three pillars into this discussion. Okay, so let's go. So the first piece is to really identify what are the top three reasons why people don't make nutrition changes, and then I'm going to really help you figure out if you suffer from one, two, or all three of these. I'm going to help you troubleshoot and start to figure out how to really attack each one piece by piece with some really just smart stuff. As I've worked in this industry now for 12 years, some really smart, simple tools to help you get each one on board. Because the reality is, if you start making changes, I wrote this in a post yesterday, if you make 70% nutrition changes, like 70% of your life you're eating on a plan, and I don't mean a hard diet, but on a plan that you're happy with, you're going to be one of the healthiest people you know, period. If we can get you interested enough, building solid enough habits, and going back to the well over and over again by having accountability, you're going to get better results than the average person by far. You're going to be the healthiest person you know, and you're going to maintain those results for years and years to come. So let's talk about the three reasons, and then I'm going to get to the good stuff, which is how to fix them. The first reason people aren't healthy, can't make nutrition changes, is frankly, folks, more nutrition, more food and calories, and particularly calories through the form of crap, are available now than have ever been before. At no point in human history has food been so abundantly available, and that's awesome, and that's great in some ways. We don't suffer from, most of us in the US, thank God, don't suffer from malnutrition. But God knows we suffer from overnutrition. We've got the diseases to show for diabetes, hypertension, obesity, all the litany of chronic illnesses that come from it. So calories, crappy calories, overprocessed calories, sugar calories, all that stuff, way, way too available these days. So that's number one, is food is flat out too available. And so we've got to be able to create some boundary around that. Number two is, a lot of people I see fool themselves into believing they can make little itty bitty changes. So they're they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They're maybe at a 5 out of 10 in commitment level, and they want to sort of step. Ooh, I tried. I gave up soda, or I started eating breakfast. And we'll talk about what it really takes to make change. But my finding, counter to what I really was told by change experts in the beginning, I was always told, have people make slow, small, incremental changes. And what I really found, we had a hugely successful, wildly successful challenge 2 years ago. And it was the first time that Abby and I told everybody, we want you to make huge sweeping changes. We want you to identify all the big problems with nutrition and get educated on how to fix them and make big changes. So that's number two, is people, maybe your commitment level isn't where it needs to be at an 8, 9, 10, and you try to make small changes and hope like, oh, I'm working out, I'm making a little bit of changes, I deserve it, I deserve, I deserve to eat a little bit of crap, I deserve that bagel because, oh, I worked out. And then number three, and probably a big one, and where the treatment pillar comes into place, is people are using food as a form of treatment. People are, you might be treating, my guess is you do treat your stress, your emotions with food. That's why we have addictions in this country, folks. Betting, gambling, alcohol, drugs. But food is the hardest one because you can't stop eating. You can give up smoking, you can give up drinking, but you can't give up eating. So if you are treating your emotions with food, we got to figure out how to get some space around that, because that is going to be a tough one to get results until we start to deal with the real underlying issue. Until then, we're going to try to soothe and placate our emotions by eating food. So let's talk about each one, and I'm going to give you the best tips I have from each one to really make the biggest bang, changes. So number one, again, to repeat number one, it's the calories are just so bloody available. They're just too many calories are available to you at this time. And so what I find with this kind of client is it's often a beginner client. It's somebody who's just starting to try to get healthy and try to get fit, or they're sort of the chronic yo-yo person. For you, you've got to start with purging the house, learning how to shop, and coming up with some rules for yourself. So number one is purge. If you have it in the house, you're going to eat it. And I know that from experience, and I know that from working with tons of clients. If there's ice cream in the freezer, hey, guess what, folks? I'm just like you. I'm eating it. Like, I don't want to know it's there. So finish off your pints. No, just kidding. So it shouldn't be there. Like, that's the piece. Number one, you've got to go in your pantry, you've got to go in your fridge, you've got to purge. I'm sorry that you bought that food already, but you don't you don't owe it to yourself to eat that crap if it's crap and it doesn't need to be in the house. You've got to purge, number one. If you try to solve the nutrition game with resisting what you know is in the pantry, good luck. Like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for people. People don't have that kind of resistance usually. The one challenge is if you're a parent, you have some stuff around for your kids that they eat that you don't eat. What I would do in that case is just create a kids-only area of the kitchen, of the pantry, or something where they go, but you just don't go. You might need to put up reminders for yourself to not tap into that, to not jump on that. But that's important because you can't be eating all the same stuff. Your kids work 10 times harder, their bodies rev faster, they burn more energy, they can afford some more calories in terms of junky carbs and processed food than you can. Your digestion isn't as good as them, your hormones are more stressed, you don't have as much lean muscle, you're not using it as much, so you can't eat like them. So purge. Number two is you got to shop smart. If you don't want it in the house, don't bring it into the house. I think the biggest change people make is when they start purging, so it's not there, and then they learn how to grocery shop. The simplest thing in the world is to learn how to buy the right foods. And some of that's getting past some of the diet industry's crazy bullshit teachings. It's getting past the concept that meat's bad and low fat is good for you and non-sugar alternatives. That is like some 80s and 90s bullshit nutrition. Like, it's just hogwash. Low-fat food, don't eat it. If your product says low-fat and it isn't like celery or something, then you shouldn't be eating it. You shouldn't be eating low-fat yogurt, low-fat anything, because they've stripped fat out of food that had fat in it. If you're still eating low-fat thinking that's smart for you, it's time to start looking at new nutrition evidence, and frankly looking at old nutrition evidence, which is our ancestors did never worry about eating fat. They ate fat because it was important nutrition. So number two is shopping smart. Number three, for the people where calories are too available, is having rules. Like having a rule about where to go. This is a big one. So for those of you who maybe eat out a lot for dinner or eat out a lot for lunch, I would come up with your 1, 2, or 3 go-to restaurants that you can go to locally in Columbia, Maryland, Ellicott City, Maryland. For me, it's Cava, C-A-V-A, is a great new Mediterranean restaurant, sort of like Chipotle. You go and you create your own bowl. Phenomenal food. Chipotle to an extent, although I think it's too much food. You probably should be eating half of it. But just is there a great salad bar you can visit and get good, protein, veggies, all that jazz. Getting a couple go-to places and not going to TGI Fridays and housing like fried food and sugary drinks. That's going to set you up for failure. If you go there, like I said, 20-30% of the time, okay, one thing, but if you go there daily, you're sabotaging your results. So for number ones, where calories are just too available, it's purge, create rules, and shop smart. For number two, we're talking about, I see this a lot with clients who've started and they're not getting results. It's people who are trying to make really small incremental changes and wondering why they're not getting results. And some of this, for those of you, you can raise your hands, hit the like button if you're one of these people. Some people will work out and then think that they deserve to eat junk. They're like, oh, I work out, I deserve to have dessert, I deserve to have Ritas, I deserve to have ice cream. You don't deserve food that isn't good for you. It's like saying you deserve a cigarette. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So what I found, again, a couple of years ago when we ran a challenge, was that when we told people to make big changes, like really, here's the rules of nutrition that I teach, like do them, that was when people, by far, I had an entire mirror full of weight loss for clients. And I was like, holy crap, people did better when we threw a lot of changes at them all at once and then slowly built them into habits so that it wasn't challenging. And I will stress that it shouldn't be sacrifice. It shouldn't feel like dieting. It shouldn't feel like you're hungry ever. That's not the point. So the real piece with you, if you struggle and you want to make small changes, or you're sort of like putting one foot in, one foot out in your nutrition changes, what I would say is, a great book on change is called Switch, How to Make Change When Change is Hard. And they talk about the elephant and the rider. Bear with me. So the elephant is like your emotional self. Your emotional self wants to see change quickly. It wants to see something happen. And if you don't see change, like some inches lost, or pants get looser, or pounds off the scale, or firmer muscles, usually what happens is we get defeated. We get like, oh shoot, it's not worth it, nothing's happening, I'm down on myself, and so you quit. So make large enough changes, go to a 9 or a 10 out of 10 commitment level, and make big changes, enough so that you'll actually see changes, and then you'll feel that like wind in your sail. You'll be like, oh, this is awesome, I feel good about this. And number two, I see this more with my clients who I've worked with for a long time, or any of you who've sort of like followed a nutrition plan, like Weight Watchers or something, for a good bit of time, but then you start to fall off the wagon, and each time you try to get back on it, it's harder and harder to adhere to the rules. What I would say to my more experienced clients, or those of you out there who've sort of followed a diet regimen for a while, is tweak and change it a little bit here and there. So I'm not saying jump from Whole30 to Weight Watchers to this to that, to Beachbody to plant-based. Like, don't go insane. Pick a nutrition routine that works for you and then make tweaks. So like, for instance, a year and a half, 2 years ago, my wife and I were like, we're giving up all grains. And so we stopped eating even rice and quinoa, which is actually a seed, and oats, right? We gave up all grains. I teach people to give up wheat and wheat-based foods as much as humanly possible. We said, let's give up all grains. And for months, probably 6-9 months, we were really, really into that. And then what always happens, human nature, we slide a little bit, and then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, it's crept back in. So, and then I needed a new thing, and I quit coffee, and I stayed with that course. And then I needed a new thing, and I played with a little bit of intermittent fasting and a little bit of feeling hungry before I satiate. And so within my rules that I have, that I teach clients, I tweak and I change and I make it new and interesting for you. So for those of you out there, this is a big one for those of you who have that boredom factor, especially if you've followed a system for years and you have a tough time each time you go back into it, doing it with all your heart, because you're like, there's a bit of our human nature who's like, oh, I'm bored. I know this. Same old, same old. I don't want to do this again. So find little ways, and sometimes you might need the help of an expert, somebody to support that, but find little ways to tweak, to change, to like, oh, let's try it with this little bit of stress. I'm going to focus on this aspect and see if that doesn't freshen it up, make it fun and new to where you put your whole heart into it. Does that make sense? And if you guys have any questions, that would be awesome. I'd love to bounce off questions at any point. And I'm going to get to my third and final point. The third one is such a big one. I think everybody needs to deal with this one, because dealing with food as a form of treatment for your emotional stress or upset or is a factor for every single one of you. I repeat, every single one of you watching uses food as a form of treatment to soothe your emotions at some point. Whether you realize it or not, you absolutely are doing that. And so it is imperative for everybody, whether you're a beginner, like got no idea about nutrition, or whether you're somebody who's been doing the nutrition thing for years and years. Because this one, like I said before, if you watch from the beginning, you can give up alcohol, you can give up cigarettes, you can't give up eating. So you have to, with food, create boundary around it and still eat every single day, several times a day. So it's tricky, right? So what your pitfalls are is so much food's available, like I said, number one, and we've got all this stress and emotional baggage that wants to be soothed, and so your body is just asking you to cheat, to eat food that isn't going to serve your better health. So let's deal with the emotional and the stress. Let's deal with the emotional baggage and the stress. So number one is mindful eating practices. So I think every one of you needs to practice turning things off and sitting down and being with people, even if that's possible, or at least sitting quietly when you eat. I know we all want to check Facebook and email and be tapped into stuff, but this technology has really stolen family time and eating time to where a lot of stuff is happening on automatic pilot and without a real awareness. And I consider that sad, a little bit dangerous for the health of the family and your physical health. So I would start with some mindful eating practices. I would sit quietly, either with yourself or even better with friends or family, people you love, people you enjoy, and enjoy food together. I would taste your food and chew it until you've really savored it and tasted it, and it's not just the form of like stuffing food, how fast can I get food in my mouth. I would try the mindful eating habit of eat half of what you got on your plate or your bowl, stop, take a few minutes, chill, look around or have a conversation, and then see how hungry you are. Give your body time to register, am I hungry or not? This is a great mindful eating habit. You have a hormone called leptin that when you eat, your body tells you, I'm full. Well, what most Americans do, because we eat foods that's bloating and inflammatory, and we eat fast, and we eat mindlessly, our leptin literally doesn't have a chance to go, dude, you're full, like chill, you're done. And so we go to like 100% full, and then we blow past it before our leptin or our bodies actually had a chance to register, I'm full. Well, what did it just do? You had 20% more calories or more food than your body even needed in that moment. So mindful eating, number one. If you want to get a control of mindless eating or of eating for emotions, number one is learn when your body needs food, how much food, and how to like savor and enjoy it. Number two is I think everybody in this culture should have some form of stress relief, and that could be acupuncture, something I've been getting since 2001, and something I've been doing as a practitioner since 2004. Just very much a powerful, powerful tool in terms of calming the nervous system and helping you get in touch with your stress, your emotions, really understanding those things at a level where you can deal with them and not seek food as drug. Breath work, like having breathing practices around stress, and I've shared some of them on other blogs you can check out at 39minuteworkout.com. You can check the blog section. Yoga or other Tai Chi or other calming physical practices. And I think for some of us who are more extroverts and more ADD like me, exercise, like that's a form of stress relief, big time. Burning off mental energy, a lot of times we can't do that by being chill. We need to do that by getting up and out and like blasting some of that away. So for some of you, it's going to be explosive exercise, okay? And last thing is find what the real emotion is behind there. So I would challenge you before you eat meals, maybe just like 1 or 2 meals a day, to slow down. You know what? Maybe it's around snacking, honestly. So slow down before you put that food in your mouth and sit with yourself for a minute and breathe. Just feel your breath coming, rising and falling in your chest, and decide whether or not what emotion you're in at that point, and see if you can create a little space around what your body's saying is hunger, and see if it doesn't arise as an actual emotion going on right then and there that you're noticing in your body. And then I can't necessarily teach you treatment techniques in this little video, but start by just calming down when you breathe, when you eat, checking in with the emotions that are happening, and feeling in your body. Am I truly hungry, or am I trying to feed something? And if there's an emotion there that seems upset, breathe through that. Use some meditation, use some techniques that you might have developed, or go learn some techniques like box breathing or using acupuncture or meditation, and calming that emotion before we're eating, so that we're eating because our body needs food, not because we're trying to satiate something that can't be filled by food. If you are stressed because you just worked a 10-hour shift and then your kids need to be 3 places and you didn't get an ounce of time to be by yourself or calm down, that won't be fixed by food. All you're going to do is make yourself heavy and unhealthy. Okay? So that is some great stuff, hopefully, that you can put into action today. There were, again, 3 real reasons why people don't make changes. 1 was calories are more available than ever before. 2, people try to fool themselves into making small changes is enough, and it's not. You need to make big sweeping changes and then build them into your habits. And number 3 is people are using food as a form of treatment for their emotions and stress. And I gave you a litany of tools for each one if you struggle with 1, 2, or all 3 of them. So I'd love some feedback after you watch this video. I'll post it on Facebook. It'll stay here on this page. And if you ever have any questions, comments, feedback that you want to share, I'm very involved in these Facebook pages. I'll definitely hop in and help you. And as always, if you're in the Maryland area, you can check out my blog at 39minuteworkout.com. Or if you are outside of Columbia, Howard County, Maryland, you can go to onlinekettlebells.com, kettlebells with an S.com, and check out my blog there. Lots of great videos, content, good free stuff to check out and work on this path of being healthier mind, body, spirit, folks. All right, thanks so much. Until next time.